Okay, now it is recording. Hi. Thank you guys who was at the studio with me and are here today with me doing this meatloaf. I promise you, this is a fast meatloaf. It's an easy meatloaf. Anybody can make this meatloaf, okay? So I'm going to show you really quick, and we're going to put it in the oven, and then I'll come back and show you when it's done. In the bowl, I've got 2 pounds of ground beef. I'm going to crack 2 raw eggs. 1 egg, okay? 2 eggs, 1 minute. And for anybody new, I am Learn from Granny Cat. On YouTube, I'm Learn from Granny Cat with a C. On Instagram, Periscope, and Facebook, I'm Learn from Granny Cat with a K. I have different content on the different all the different places, so please join me. We have a good time. Uh-oh, dropped that in there, didn't I? All right, so we got 2 raw eggs, 2 pounds of hamburger. I'm going to put a 1/2 cup of breadcrumbs, just regular plain breadcrumbs, okay? 1/2 cup. I've already preheated the oven to 350, if you can tell. I'm trying to figure out why am I seeing y'all so off there. I think that's a little better. A little bit. Okay. Anyway, okay. Now I'll put a teaspoon of black pepper. Got my measuring spoon. I like black pepper, so I use quite a bit, but it is 2 pounds of hamburger too. Don't forget that, okay? Let me take my glasses off. Maybe I can see y'all better. I think I got a dark spot or something. Or a glare going on. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to use a teaspoon of large granule black pepper. I love that. And a teaspoon of Lori seasoning salt, which has a little bit of everything in it. So that's a good thing too. Okay. Now, I buy a lot of my spices at the farmer's market, as you know. And you see this was only $1 or $2 for all of this Italian herb mix. Now, you and I both know. Now, I do buy these smaller bottles when they're on sale. But you know, this would probably cost you about, what, $4? $3 at least? $1.02. Tons of it. I could fill up both of these jars and still have some left. So, if you have a farmer's market near you, please hit it up. It's a great place, seriously. Now, I'm going to put a tablespoon of the Italian herb, because we're making a meatloaf, right? And it's got everything. Smells amazing, you guys. So, tablespoon of that. Okay. Now, many times people use, let me put ketchup. We're going to do a 1/2 cup of ketchup, you guys. But I don't really want, I know how much I'm going to put, so I'm not going to measure. But you can start with like 1/4 cup. That's about almost a 1/2 cup. Almost. You do have to add moisture, you know. Alright, so back to the thing that I was going to tell you. Many times at this point, people add water. If you want to make the best meatloaf, use beef broth, please. Oh, and there's one more thing. Now, I'd already pre-chopped up a 1/2 of a red bell pepper, 1/2 of a green bell pepper, a yellow onion, 3 garlic cloves, and some shallots. But this is way too much. I got chop happy. So I'm only going to add it at a 1/2 cup at a time and see where it's at. And see how much it looks like in here. Everything's well mixed. So I'm going to get some of everything that I chopped. And when you do this, when you over chop like I did, this works well for so many other dishes and it freezes well. You want to use it in a soup, a stew, some stir fry. Put it in the freezer. It will come back just great. It's not going to come back fresh. It's going to have to be cooked, but you can use it, okay? All right. Now, you can see how everything's looking in there. I'm just going to kind of melt it a little bit before I add some beef broth to it. Let's see what else I need to do. It is dry, of course, so I haven't added any moisture. I just wanted to see what I had going. I'm going to add a little bit more of the breadcrumbs, about 1/4 cup, okay? That's about 1/2 of that, okay? And those of you that follow me know I love onions, shallots, and garlic. So, I'm going to go back and get a little bit more of that. Now, all of this, of course, is seasoned to taste. You know that. And just a touch more ketchup, just for good measure. There we go. Now, this is this, because I had opened it already, and I just put it in a jar in the refrigerator. And now, shook it up. Make sure everything's well mixed. And I'm going to add a little bit of it. Not all of it, but just some of it, because you just want to make, you want moisture. You always usually use water, but beef broth is so much better. I'm telling you. You'll be so much happier if you use beef broth in your meatloaf. Now you can start mixing it all together. See what you got. Make sure everything is well blended. Now this is the time if you think you might want a little bit more salt and pepper, but you could just wait till it's done. Because you can't taste raw meat, of course. The only thing you can ask yourself, do I want more bell pepper, onions, and all that good stuff? And I say no, I think we're good. And I don't, well, I add a little bit more broth because I don't want it to be dry, okay? Now you're asking a question of, how long will that broth stay in your refrigerator? You can keep that broth up to 2 weeks, but you might be making gravy next week. You might be making a lot of things that you can just stick that in. It's not that much that would matter. If you were doing something with chicken, you ain't gonna, I mean, that's such a little bit, and you're adding chicken, you can just slip that in there. I'm just saying. You can use that broth for other things. But it will last in your fridge for a couple of weeks. Now, you see how that looks? See that? That's nice. Blend it. And I think it's moist enough. I do. So now, I've talked to you guys about this baking pan. Many people tell them they find it other places. It's the 2-part pan with the reserved bottom, so you get all the grease at the bottom. I've already pre-sprayed it. Please invest in this pan. It makes the best meatloaf. If you don't have this pan, layer the pan with some foil so you can lift the meatloaf out and then pull the foil back to help kind of drain some of that grease off of it. But don't just put it straight into a meatloaf pan without some foil. You'll have a mess. Okay? All right. So, now, here we go. We'll go ahead and put it in this pan. I'm so tempted, you guys, to try to knock out the rest of this broth. I'm going to do a little bit more, you guys. Just a little bit more. You don't want to dry meatloaf. You know that. You don't want to dry meatloaf, you guys. So make sure you got plenty of moisture. You never can have too much moisture. It's going to dry up anyway. I'm just paranoid. So I almost used the whole can anyway, see? Alright. I'm not going to do anything else to it except put it in the pan now. Okay, here we go. Put it on a lined baking sheet because it is going to make maybe a mess. Because it's going to be full. It's 2 pounds. It's going to be a solid meatloaf. It's good. I was worried. I thought it was going to spill over, but it didn't. Okay, now meatloaf is all in the pan. I'm going to make it nice and pretty. You smooth it out. Now I'm going to tell you this next couple of steps here. Let me explain something we're going to do next. Now, the reason why you put the ketchup on top, it acts kind of like a sealant. And it allows it to kind of have a glazing when it's cooking. But when it is done, and it is completely done, and you're setting over to cool, now I'm going to put ketchup on it right now. I'm going to layer it up with some ketchup and take a fork and, you know. But when it's done, I'm going to take about a half a cup of ketchup, 2 tablespoons or a tablespoon and a half, whatever you do to your sweetness, of either dark brown sugar, light brown sugar, doesn't matter. And a couple of dashes of Worcestershire sauce. I'm going to warm it up on the stove and then take my handy dandy silicone brush and brush it over the top of the done meatloaf. When it's completely done, it's cooling, and that's going to give it amazing, delicious glaze. Okay? So I'm just telling you that when it's done, you can do that glaze if you want to. If you don't, you can just put some more ketchup on it. So now, This bottle doesn't want to stay in my hand. You know how many times this bottle done try to slip out my hand? All right, so we're going to put some ketchup on here. There we go. Doesn't have to necessarily be pretty because you're going to take a fork to it and get it covered all over the top. Again, this is kind of like your sealant. And then, like I said, you're going to do a glazing when it's done, okay? So, you're going to cook this meatloaf for 45 minutes at least to an hour until it is fully cooked. I'm going to put it in the oven now, and when it comes out, I will show you guys, and we'll see if I'm going to glaze it or not. The glaze is delicious, though. I just want to give you that option. Okay, now, I'm about to put it in the oven, and the next time you see it, it will be done. And it's going to be a nice solid one, as you can see. It's full. So it's going to be a nice, hearty, heavy, plenty of sandwiches meatloaf, okay? All right, you guys. I'm putting it in the oven now. I will talk to you later. This is Granny Cat with the C on YouTube, Granny Cat on Instagram, Periscope, and Facebook with a K. Learn from Granny Cat with a K. I've got a bunch of videos on Periscope, so things you haven't seen here and you won't, because I'm not going to put the two together. So if you want to see some other cooking things, come on over to Periscope. Join me. Please give Granny some likes, some shares, invites, and I'll see you soon. Love you.